As the temperatures heat up and we find ourselves spending more time outdoors, it's critical to wear sunscreen to prevent future damage to your skin. Dr. Elizabeth Grieshaber joins us now with the important things you need to know. Good afternoon, Dr. Grieshaber.
Hey, Meg, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. All right, so if you need to go out maybe and buy some new sunscreen, are there certain types of sunscreen we should be looking for, or maybe certain products in the sunscreen?
So it's really important to learn how to read a sunscreen label. So when you're buying a sunscreen, it needs to say SPF 30 or higher. And then you also want to look at the ingredients. And so the only two ingredients that are considered generally safe and effective by the FDA are the ones you can pronounce. So zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. And so it's because sunscreens are regulated by the FDA, they have to list those active ingredients on the back. So you just flip it over and look at the back of it and read. So those are two big things that I look for in my sunscreens.
Okay. That's easy enough. Now, what about wearing sunscreen all day long? I mean, I've heard, people say you should put sunscreen on in the morning, even if you're not planning on laying up by the pool all day, but because you have an exposure to sun, even if you're just walking outside or maybe going for a quick walk around the block, would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, sunscreen is part of my morning routine. And so if something takes me longer than 45 seconds to do in the morning, I have 4 kids, it's not going to happen. So I have 2 things I put on in the morning after I wash my face, and that's all I do, and sunscreen is one of them. So sunscreens help block UV light that's absorbed through window glass. And then too, if you have a sunscreen with iron oxides in it too, blue light. So we're both looking at screens right now. So blue light's becoming a hot topic both in aesthetics, so cosmetic dermatology, but also we don't know the long-term risk of blue light at this point.
What
So
about
yes,
children? Sorry, go ahead.
no, so yeah, sunscreen every day. So
Gotcha.
kids, what are we going to
Yes.
do with our kids? So if you look at FDA guidelines, sunscreens recommended at ages 6 months and older. And my kids, I only use those physical blockers because the reason those physical blockers are so cool is because they form a shield between your skin and the sun. Whereas chemical sunscreens, those ones you can't pronounce, just translate the sun's energy into something else, and there's all kinds of other controversy with those that I won't get into. So kids, you want to stick with those physical blockers. Other thing I love is UPF clothing. My kids have long sleeve bathing suits. And we have a pool, and my kids were in the pool all day yesterday. So long sleeve bathing suits, hats, shade, and so you were kind of mentioning your 4-month-old. What do you do with a
Yes.
4-month-old? And that's kind of a toughie. So UPF clothing, but you also don't want them to overheat because their little bodies can't take that much heat, especially if you have
Right.
them all clothed. So you want to keep them somewhere shaded, somewhere out of the sun, but you still can bring them outside.
That's good news for sure. Talking about the long-term benefits of using sunscreen, I feel like we hear of more and more people who have melanoma, who have cancer detected on their skin. Is that something that you're seeing more often now as we're learning about, how easily people can get melanoma?
Well, I mean, I've personally I've had 2 melanomas. I had one on my arm when I was pregnant with my son, and I had one 3 years later on my leg. And so I grew up wearing sunscreen, but I grew up in South Louisiana. And so I do think we're getting better at finding melanoma and better at finding skin cancers. And I think we know more about what causes it. So the cumulative effect of sun damage over a lifetime can cause skin cancer. And we are living much longer. So if we start in our teens, God forbid our teens. I mean, I talk to my teenagers about wearing sunscreen.
Sure.
Teens, 20s, wearing a sunscreen every day. It'll save you a lot of time, money, and heartache as you get older.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Dr. Grieshaber, thank you again for your time. We really appreciate it. Good advice for everyone out there.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Thank you.